Okay, mailbag number 4. Thankfully, on the heels of this long video, I got a lot of feedback, and you know, some of it I think was interesting, and some of it was not exactly what I had expected, but the majority of it, and thank you guys, was supportive, and I'm glad that there are people out there that think like I do. So it's nice to know you're not crazy. Anyway, one of the comments that really stood out to me, that I really felt very strongly about, was we had a user. I'm not going to name any names, but he had stated something about the car's carbon footprint being being significantly more than that of a newer car. And so we're going to talk about carbon footprints and why Classic Mercedes aren't really that big of a carbon footprint. So every day when you get into a modern car, another car is being built to replace that car, and of course another car is being designed to replace the modern car that you're going to be driving in the future. In order for this to happen, an army of people have to show up at work, at car factories, at offices, at parts supply plants. Thousands of steel panels have to be pressed. Hundreds of little parts have to be shipped, which also consumes fossil fuels. And of course, that car has to be assembled, filled with fluids, and then put on the road. In addition, to replace the car that's coming off of the assembly line because you're not ready to get out of your car next, about 2 10-year-old vehicles are also going to have to be processed and recycled, and the earth is going to have to absorb that same footprint. Now, for a car to continue to exist for 10 years, you know, that's a good thing. It's not really doing a lot. But taking that car apart and returning it to the earth and breaking it up into parts for other natural resources actually does consume a lot of energy. So there's a big carbon footprint right there. And for those of you who live in a good climate like Florida, where you can drive your car all year round, there's nothing like having a Classic Mercedes to drive, and no, you're not polluting the earth because your engine happens to have higher hydrocarbon emissions. I think what people forget is actually in the 80s, cars were more fuel efficient than they were today. It's just today we have bigger cars. So people think, oh, we have this bigger car, and if we took a comparable car, like something the size of an F-150 in the 1980s, yes, it would guzzle gas. But there are vehicles like the Ford EXP, or the Toyota Corolla diesel, or how about the Daihatsu Charade? These were actually efficient cars because they had small engines. Nowadays, you get a lot of false fuel efficiency, such as the EcoBoost V6, which is used across the Ford model line of trucks, where they claim 30 miles per gallon from an F-150. How long is that going to last? Most people who have F-150 say the EcoBoost is an okay engine, but it doesn't get 30 miles per gallon. In fact, a lot of the time when you actually use it, it doesn't get 20. So cars were more efficient. Anyway, I'm going to read the comment to you guys. It was from user Phil, YouTube member Phil Pleag, and he said, driving these beautiful older vehicles should be looked upon as a privilege rather than a right, and remember that the emission levels from older vehicles could no longer be sustained or justified. Well, actually, they can. And we're in the 1% of people who drives these cars, and I think that if people are driving around rolling coal in their brand new F-350s, or, India and China are putting out pollutants by the bajillion gallons, we don't really need to worry about the first world. Another comment that I was interested in was from user F-Bomb, where he said that driving one of these older cars was akin to riding a motorcycle, at least in regards to safety. Now, personally, I think that's a little ridiculous. I still feel that classic Mercedes are just as safe as modern cars. You could probably ask my friend Ron about that. He was in an accident in my station wagon, which I was not happy about, and this has been a source of pain and grief for me, where he was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour, and Ron was fine. In fact, the doctors at Parish Medical Center, which is one of the best hospitals on Florida's Atlantic coast, were amazed that he was not injured, considering he is not exactly a big, strong-looking guy like me, you know, and he actually could have been injured in any other car. It was great to see that he was all right. And no, Mercedes are built well. They're not like a motorcycle. A motorcycle is not very safe. A Mercedes, from any era, is a safe car. One of our other commenters actually was T-boned in his 190E, and he was okay, and he was hit at 45 miles an hour in the A-pillar, and that is no light impact. Anyway, for more interesting commentary from me, remember that I try to answer all of your comments personally. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please consider supporting us on Patreon so that Thomas and I can keep the quality of this channel up. And in the meantime, enjoy driving your Mercedes Benz and tap that bell for further notifications.